U.S. Supreme Court handed two internet giants a major victory this week. The decision came after families of people killed by Islamic gunmen tried to hold internet companies liable for providing a platform for militant groups to post their content. Satluj TV has more on the unanimous ruling that held up the controversial law known as Section 230. In a 9-0 decision, Supreme Court justices concurred that the allegations made by the plaintiffs were insufficient because they, quote, point no act of encouraging, soliciting, or advising the commission of an attack. The decision reverses a lower court's ruling that had revived a lawsuit against Twitter by the American relatives of a Jordanian man killed in a 2017 attack at an Istanbul nightclub. The attack, which killed 38 others, was claimed by the Islamic State militant group that had maintained a Twitter presence. The man's relatives accused Twitter of aiding and abetting the Islamic State by failing to police the platform for the group's accounts or posts in violation of the Antiterrorism Act. In a separate case, Google's parent company Alphabet Inc. was being sued by the family of a California college student who was fatally shot in a 2015 Islamic State attack in Paris. The woman's family argued that YouTube provided unlawful assistance to the Islamic State by recommending the group's content to users. The ruling sidestepped a bid to weaken a federal law called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act that safeguards internet companies from lawsuits for content posted by users.
So in the 90s, Congress realized that users of digital services were going to generate an extraordinary amount of content, and they wanted those services to take steps to protect their users without the risk that every individual decision that service made would expose it to extraordinary legal liability. Hence, Section 230.
The justices wrote that they declined to address the application of 230 to a complaint that appears to state little, if any, plausible claim for relief. Conservative Justice Clarence Thomas, who authored the ruling, says the allegations are a far cry of the types of pervasive, systemic, and culpable assistance to a series of terrorist activities that could be described as aiding and abetting each terrorist act.
We want companies to moderate, to take action against content that violates their terms, that makes their communities less safe. But they're not going to get every single call right. And if courts penalize companies that miss needles in haystacks, that sends a signal, don't look at all. And that turns the internet into a cesspool of dangerous content.
Critics have said Section 230 prevents platforms from being held accountable for real-world harms. Many liberals have condemned misinformation and hate speech on social media, and many conservatives have said voices on the right are censored by social media companies under the guise of content moderation. This case marked the first time the Supreme Court had examined Section 230's reach. The White House, under current President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, has called on Congress to rethink Section 230 to ensure that companies can be held accountable for content on their platforms. Reporting for Satluj TV, I'm Layla Gulen.
Hello, my name is Jane.
Do you ever wonder what's behind the news? What is it that you are not being told? Going behind the news and finding the truth. Let the truth flow. Satluj Network. Let the truth flow.